Mike, you want to call us to order?
Yes, okay, meeting called to order at 7:01. Roll call.
Thank you, Mike. Sopus, Roxanne Pecora?
She said she'd be late.
Okay. Linda Geary has resigned. Lisa Mance.
Here.
Thank you, Lisa. John Conyer.
Here.
Scott McCarthy. Dan Proctor. Cindy Lanzetta.
Here.
Thanks, Lindy. Mr. Calamano.
Here,
Mr. Bodges.
Here.
Mr. Wilkin. I know you're here, Thomas.
you're on
Yeah.
mute, Tom.
I was on mute.
Gotcha. Mr. Bodden.
Here.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Havarti.
Here.
Thank you. Miss Welton. Mr. Watkins.
She's
Here.
muted. She's here.
Okay.
Vivian, you're on mute.
Vivian,
Thank you. Yeah, I'm
there
here.
you go. Mr. Almquist.
Here.
Mr. Markowitz.
Here.
Mr. Rudikoff.
Here.
Miss Weiner. Mr. Murray.
Here.
Vince.
Here.
You're here. I know you were.
Yeah,
John Bonavita Goldman.
I have the candy, remember?
I got it. Gio.
I'm here.
All righty.
Dennis, Miss Weiner is here. I think it's here. It's muted though.
Got her. Thank you. So we have a quorum.
Okay. Moving along, item number 2 on the agenda. Approval of the minutes. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second,
All
Baden.
right, guys, hold on. Let's identify ourselves, okay? So we know that.
Conyer second.
Okay, I got a motion in a second, Mike.
Okay. Any discussion, comments? Hearing none. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carried. Item number 3, education and training opportunities. There've been a number of them have been coming out, all virtual. In fact, there's, I think, one next week.
Yep. If I can, Mike.
Sure.
So we sent around to you the Division of Local Government Services, Department of State, offering a winter webinar series beginning on December 8th from 5 to 7, subdivision review, December 15th, floodplain regulations, same time, December 22nd, skills that make great board members, January 5th, planning board overview, and January 12th, zoning board of appeals. So those are DOS certified courses, and you'll get 2 hours credit for them. They run from 5 to 7. You should have received those in the mail, and you can register online.
Mr. Chair? It's Lisa?
Yep.
There's one tomorrow with the Department of State Committee on Open Government starting at 10 on a webinar by Kristen O'Neill for FOIL.
That's good to know.
10 to 11:30, I think we signed up for it, a couple of the town clerks and myself.
That's December 3rd. Thanks, Lisa.
Tomorrow, you're welcome.
Anything else on training opportunity? Obviously, there's a number of them out there. So if anybody needs any, or your alternate needs any, tune them in to when these are, and let's get the credits.
Dennis, on the Department of State webinars, is there a restriction on attending?
Not that I'm aware of, Frank. I'm not aware of any. They're, you just register and you're way to go. I don't even see them limited in terms of numbers of people that can attend.
Okay, thank you.
Dennis, the Planning Federation has some out as well, and the only requirement is that your municipality is a member of the Planning Federation.
Yep.
Those are free as well.
Yeah, and I think the planning board members here qualify to participate because we're a member of the Planning Federation. The county is. So I think the planning board here is qualified. If you're a member of this board, you should be able to be qualified. Let us know if that's not the case. We can work on that.
No, that is the case. I registered under the town of Ulster and they said I'm not qualified. However, I re-registered under the county and they said, yes, it's okay.
Oh, goody. See? Thanks, Frank.
Okay, anything else? Like I said, there's plenty of opportunities if you need any credits out there going. Community reports. Anybody have anything going on in the community?
Town of Rochester, hopefully after the next legislature meeting, we'll have a official alternate member, Aaron Anawan, who is one of our town board members who used to be a member of the ZBA. And I saw, Dennis, thank you for getting that move forward so quickly. I saw it on the legislature's agenda for this month. So
Yeah.
I'm
Thank
guessing she'll
Mary
be
Ann.
appointed and be in effect as of January.
Mary Ann does all of that background work. I just, she's
You just
she's a
signed the
workhorse.
paperwork. Yep. Well, thank you for getting it to them so quickly because they moved on it quickly as well.
Okay,
Lisa,
every
Town
once in a
Hurley,
while it moves. Go ahead, Lisa.
were you going to get a new representative from Hurley? They're making me an alternate and putting in our planning board chair, Mitchell Cohen.
Lisa, they can't do that.
My term was up.
Oh, as long as your term is up. Yeah, that's
My
okay.
term was up and the town board decided they wanted a planning board member in there. So we had someone willing to serve.
Okay.
Okay,
Mike, looking, I got one thing I want to say. This goes to I sit on the Ulster County Transportation Council there for Plattekill. And Dennis, I thought that presentation you had at the meeting last week was pretty good. And it opens your eyes up to the transportation problems around the county, and there's no easy fix on any of them. And it might be good for anyone interested to go to that, you had a public, an open meeting on it, presentation on it, another week or so. And that might be helpful for some people if they're interested in the transportation part. The part on Walk-Hill kind of losing UCAT service was kind of interest to me since I'm in that area, and it is a hard problem to fix. So, but I thought it was very interesting.
And just so everybody knows, what the Transportation Council presented was something called the Mid-Hudson Connect study, which is essentially looking at regional transit service for the three counties, Ulster, Orange, and Dutchess. And how to make that connection work better and how to get what they call inter-regional travel, particularly intra-county travel to work, where most of the transportation systems in the county now are designed to either go internal to the county or to major destinations like Albany or New York City, but not Dutchess to Orange or Orange to Ulster or vice versa. So that's what this is. That's what this study is about.
okay. Anything else on community reports, Vince?
The Village Authority Zoning Board of Appeals is having a public hearing. Rob's got the information on that. On December 22nd at 7 o'clock in relation to 141 Ulster Avenue. It's converting some storefront into some apartments. So at some point, it'll be on our agenda, I'm sure.
It's on our agenda tonight.
tonight.
Is it?
Yep,
Well, there you go.
we're working quickly.
There you go.
Okay, anything else on community reports? For planning board reports, I don't have a report, but I do have a nominating committee for elections of office of next year. And so, Mark, do you want to, or Mike?
I talked to Mike earlier today and I talked to Tom the other day, and I think Mike's gonna take the lead on it.
Yeah, Mike, the three of us have discussed this, and we would like to recommend Jerry Brown as chair, Drew Bogus as vice chair, and Gio, and I'm not even gonna, is it Gagliardi? Am I close?
Yeah, that's good enough.
Okay, as secretary, and that would be our recommendation for nomination.
Okay, so I think I open it up to see if there's any other nominations.
And Mike, we want to thank you for your 2 years of service as the chair, and appreciate all the work you've done.
You've done a great job. Thank you. Yes.
Well, it has been different, that's for sure. As all the ex-chairman will say, it's been a different year going forward on it. Okay, so we have a nomination. Did I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay,
So what,
all those opposed? What?
so I'm sorry, I mean, I guess Mike, from Mike Bond, you're gonna put those nominations in forward for the board to consider, right? That's what the nominating committee is
That's
doing?
correct. Yeah, we're proposing that as the slate of officers for next year.
So we need a first and then a second, Mike.
Okay,
I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
and Vince seconded. All those opposed, and I'm looking at every one of you, remember.
Just don't change your phone number.
Okay, motion carried. All right,
Nominations be closed.
Congratulations, everybody.
yes, yes, I think it's a good crew.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad to get through number 5. Number 6 is Dennis.
Financial report, we're fine. We have not seen anything from the legislature with respect to, they're going through budget amendments right now. We haven't seen anything from the legislature that would amend the county planning department's budget. So as recommended, currently as recommended by the executive, is what's under consideration without amendment in front of the legislature going forward. And where we are in terms of this year, we're in pretty good shape. We've got a lot of money in escrow, so I've got about, out of my professional service budget, I only have about $60,000 left, and I have a RFP out for services, which is going to eat up all of that money. So we'll end the year literally in the black, but barely, as they say.
It's the way you want to be.
Yep, that's exactly where you want to be. We did save quite a bit of money on travel, by the way, just so you know.
Dennis, what,
Okay.
I'm curious, and it's partially to do with the budget, but so with the census sort of ending the way it did, is there any further work by the county regarding census, or are you just now in a waiting period until the announcement of the population numbers, and then the redistricting committee will take effect, or how does that work?
That's correct. What you're going to see is, my understanding is the census is supposed to deliver the final counts to the president by the end of this year, or early in January. I think it's required by the end of the year. those get passed through to an apportionment committee to Congress to consider, and then they're released probably by spring. They'll be released to the state governments for apportionment purposes for districting. And the apportionment is both on the national level as well as the state level and the local level. On the local level, the charter provides for a apportionment committee, and that apportionment committee then makes decisions. And there's been some amendments to the charter. That apportionment committee, and if I get this wrong, please excuse me. I think the way the amendment was, the apportionment committee essentially made the decision with respect to what the districts were, and the legislature didn't have a role. And I think what they did is they amended it so that the apportionment committee made a recommendation to the legislature, which kind of took away the independence of the apportionment committee. I may be wrong on that, but I know
think
that's
that's wrong, Dennis.
Is that what they did it the other way around?
No, I think they did.
They,
For the record, I was staff to the apportionment committee last time.
the chair, I mean, the county executive created the pool of candidates, and the legislature has to select from that pool. And I believe I'd have to go back and look. I believe
Anyway. The point being is that there is an apportionment committee.
Correct.
It makes recommendations or makes the decisions relative to apportionment for the legislative seats in the county. And then Rob has indicated Rob did serve as a staff to the apportionment committee the last time we did this. We think that may be the case again, although we don't know. We do have some money in our budget to assist the apportionment committee in doing its work. And then after that, we've also assisted, the city has to go through a similar process with respect to its ward structure.
Right.
And we assisted the city the last time. I'm not sure whether we'll do that again, but we did assist it the last time as well. So and those have to be done. I would say there's a time frame, and I think it's by the end of the summer, as I recall. When they have to be in front of the legislature for consideration, or they have to be finalized.
So likely then the change in the legislative districts would not take effect for next year's election.
That's
which
correct.
Is the next time legislators are on the ballot. So this would be for the 2023 election, right?
2022, I think, Mike.
Well, 2022 there's no legislative election.
Then it has to
I
be
would double check the
2023.
charter on all of this stuff.
Yeah. Let us run through the charter on
Okay.
this.
I was just trying to get a feel for what the next steps were. Thank you.
I know there was some concern relative to the filing of the apportionment with respect to when petitions were due, and they've answered that question. I know that question got asked.
Yeah, because with everything being earlier in the election process, it used to be you saw when the primaries were in September, it was not as big a deal, but now that they're much earlier, I can see that the apportionment committee won't be completed yet in time for that to happen.
Right.
And I think that was the other amendment. I think they were concerned about that. So I think it's the other amendment, I think, is that it takes effect in odd years, as I recall. Anyway, I don't want to I'm sorry to keep belaboring this point when I don't have the actual facts. I apologize for that.
I'll give everybody a link. I have the link if anybody wants to see it. That's the charter link to the apportionment committee.
Thanks, Rob. So in environmental notice bulletins, we have a couple of them here. One has to do with Tarpon Towers, which is in the town of Ulster. Has filed its necessary work with respect to what they call the 306 filings for environmental work. That's a location that's by the town transfer station. We also have a brownfield cleanup request from DEC. It's at 520 Albany Avenue. And then we also have Homeland Towers, which is a positive declaration for a tower off of Jansen Road in the town of New Paltz that's going to go through an environmental review process. Oh, and then we have the city of Kingston has a permit requirement from NISDOT from New York State DEC, I'm sorry, with respect to work that they're going to do on Cooper Lake Dam in the town of Woodstock. That's the environmental notice bulletin.
Thank you, Dennis.
Communications. Cindy, we're happy for the town of Marlborough. We received notification from the Department of State that your local waterfront revitalization plan was approved. Would you like to say something?
No, I wasn't a part of that group other than attending the public meetings and putting in what our planning board felt in regards to that plan. The Department of State, Barbara Kendall, was just amazing in working with the town of Marlborough to make that happen. And it's a great thing to have in our portfolio, so to speak, of planning documents, and we'll be able to move forward on doing better planning, having become a local waterfront revitalization community.
So I don't want to, from a director's staff report, Bert, do you have anything you want to say?
No, not tonight.
Okay, thank you. Rob, anything from your end or not?
No, just referral front tonight for me.
Okay. So
Hey,
from,
Janet, if you don't mind, I neglected to mention something before, and I apologize. The town of Saugerties Town Hall is closed right now to the public because of COVID. If anybody needs to gain entry, they have to call Town Hall first at 246-2800. That took effect the Monday before Thanksgiving.
thanks, Vince.
Yep. And it's until further notice.
So a couple of things from the director's position. We continue to work on, we've completed a number of our transportation studies. They're moving, or at least mostly complete, including the Wallkill Valley Opportunity Study in New Paltz, and the Ellenville Wayfinding Plan for the town of Wawarsing and Ellenville. Those studies are nearly wrapped up. We continue to work with a graphics consultant on redoing our long-range transportation plan. It was adopted. Now we're basically making it look pretty, so to speak, so making it a lot more readable than the adopted document. We anticipate that should be done by the end of this month or early into January. I would say this, that the Ulster County Transportation Council Unified Planning Work Program, there's a call for projects out. If anyone on this board thinks that there's something in your community that should be looked at from a transportation perspective, you should have one of the members of the council contact us and submit a proposal for the Unified Planning Work Program. We currently, I believe, have 2 proposals for consideration and a number of things that staff want to do to move the Transportation Council forward. We have about $400,000 in planning funds that we would program for these efforts.
Dennis, you'll be getting one from a shared one from Rochester and Gardner. I spoke with Brian about it today.
Oh, I know there was one that we're talking about wayfinding in the 209 corridor. I heard that one. I haven't heard Gardner and Rochester.
This is,
Oh, this is the 4455.
4455 corridor.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and I believe you're also getting one from all the municipalities. It'll be from Marbletown, but the
Yeah,
municipalities
we saw that one.
make up the O&W trail.
Yeah, we saw that one as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I just interject 1 minute, because I'm sorry, I forgot to thank you, Dennis, and your staff for the work that you did to help us with putting together a lot of the statistics and the information that we needed for that local waterfront revitalization plan. So thank you for your help.
Oh, appreciate that, Cindy. Thank you so much. That's very much appreciated. So that's it for me.
Okay.
Hannah Weiner, will you be sending something to me or to Jeff Kaplan about the Ellenville plan that you have, that you said you would
Yeah,
finish?
Jeff has been participatory in that plan, as have two members, as are 2 or 3 members of the local community and boards down there.
Okay.
The parks people have been participating as well. The plan is online, so you can actually pick it up on our website. And Jeff should be familiar with it. He's certainly been participatory in it. But if you want a copy, Joanna, as soon as it's done, it's a little bit big. So I would suggest that you download it. If it's not up on the website, I make sure we'll get you a place to download it from.
Okay, then I can also just get it from Jeff, so. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. We're up to item 7. Capital program discussion.
So at the last board meeting, the board agreed to allow the executive committee to submit comments on the capital program. We shared, staff and the executive committee shared back and forth. I want to thank Drew and other members of the executive committee for their comments. We filed that, we completed that work yesterday and filed it this morning with the legislature. They will consider that they needed it prior to their meetings. So they're going to consider those comments as well. And I will file that with the rest of the board, so you have copies of what they filed. And my apologies for not getting it to you today. We were, as they say, a bit busy, but we'll get those the filed copies by email to board members as well. Is anybody needed in hard copy? Okay, so we'll file that with the board. I'll get that out tomorrow for you.
Dennis, I could probably talk to you in detail about this offline if it gets to that, but there's a project that is on that list that's in Rochester that we received their proposed detour route, and we find it kind of unacceptable. So who would I reach out to speak about the detour route? Because my highway superintendent is very concerned about the local roads that they're choosing to use, and we think we have a better detour route.
I would reach back to the commissioner and CC Brendan Masterson.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay, I wasn't sure who to reach out to. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay.
I'm good, Mike.
Like we have an unstable internet.
Yeah, Mike had a little bit of a glitch, I think. Yeah.
Is there any public comment?
Thanks, Jer.
Raise your hand if
Totally getting
you.
it back.
I think the only attendee is an alternate to the county planning board, so I don't think we have any public in attendance.
Then let's move on to zoning referrals.
Mike, are you back?
I'm back.
All righty, thanks, Mike.
The internet was unstable.
We're on to zoning referrals, right, Mike?
Yes, sir. Let's move to the zoning referrals now.
All right, let me share my screen. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Let's go start it. Marbletown, any recusals? None. Okay.
All right. So, as you may recall from past instances of this, anytime the town of Marbletown adds a new site to its historic landmarks, it has to amend its historic portion of the zoning law with respect to historic houses. So this is an instance of that. So 200 Bone Hollow Road is known as the Rusa Farmhouse. And there it is. And they're adding that to the historic places, landmarks for town of Marbletown. There's no county impact on adding it.
So moved.
Second, Conyer.
Okay, Mr. Watkins moved it, Mr. Conyer seconded. Any further discussion? All those opposed?
Who moved in
Okay,
second?
any abstentions?
I got it. Watkins and Conyer. I got it, Rob.
No, I just want to double gotcha and get it. Okay.
Okay. Village of New Paltz, any recusals?
All right, I'm going to handle.
Yes.
Mr. Murray, we got you, Mr. Murray. Thank you.
Yeah, the mute button.
Yeah. I'm going to handle the next two together if everybody's all right with that.
Sure.
Yep.
It's the same subdivision. So let me do a little annotating here. So two single family homes require site plan review in the Village of New Paltz. These lots are here and here off this road. No county impact on single family homes.
So moved, Baden.
I'll second.
I have a
Gio will
motion.
second.
Who made the motion?
Mike
Baden,
Baden.
Baden.
Okay, Gio seconded.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those opposed? Okay. Takes care of the two on New Paltz, right, Rob?
Yes, it does. All right. back
Town
to
of
you.
Rochester, any recusals?
Mike Baden.
Thank you, Mike.
Take us through these two houses. All right, so Town of Rochester has proposed a short-term rental law. And it is allowed in the R3, AB3, R1, R2, R5, H, and B zone. Permits are yearly renewal. They're not automatic, nor are they transferable with the property if the property is sold. Allows for both owner occupied and for local manager occupied and non-occupied. Requires a yearly inspection, requires,
Hey, Robert,
yes,
can you switch to the Rochester screens Victor? There you go.
I think you're just lagging, Victor.
yeah, it looks go right to us, Victor, just so you know.
That's a firm, Rick.
Okay,
Thanks.
where was I? Okay, so like all the other laws we've been seeing, they do acknowledge the county registration law. Max occupancy is case-by-case basis, depending on the home itself. Water and septic have to be adequate and working. Floor pan has to be provided. Whoops, sorry about that. All guests have to stay inside that principal use. They can't, no secondary structures allowed. And there's a whole complaints and enforcement procedures for quality of life issues. Comments we have with respect to it. I'll just move right this. One, there's no mention of multifamily houses. In most statutes, we see a prohibition, or we have made a comment with not allowing them in multifamily buildings so that the whole multifamily building can be converted for that sort of use, especially since the town is allowing non-owner occupied units. So we'd ask for that prohibition. Not that there's a tremendous amount of multifamily in the town of Rochester, but we'd ask for that prohibition to be consistent with the rest of the county policy and county towns and villages in the county. Also, a lot of times we've mentioned this, but having a cap with, especially with, and this is just with the non-owner occupied units. Sometimes we've suggested limiting non-occupied owner units to certain portions of the town. In this case, what we suggest is a registration deadline, and that would be your cap, so that if you have to register by January 1st every year, then that's your deadline. That's the number of permits you issue for the year. This way, it controls quality of life issues with respect in the town and doesn't convert the whole housing stock for the town. We already see a substantial number of units that are on the market for short-term rentals that are being used by others and impact the availability of housing stock in the town. So we'd recommend a cap.
So
And that's
Rob-
just one way you can do that.
So Rob, I think what we were looking at was not that they're capped on an annual basis, but effectively you treat them like non-conforming uses and you require them to register so that the existing ones that are out there that are non-owner occupied can register and continue as non-owner occupied. And then the community can set a cap for how many additional non-owner occupied units that they want. The thought being is that the cap should be tied to housing production. That effectively, if you're not building any units, you shouldn't allow any additional
Right.
units to be taken off and be non-owner occupied.
Well, it seemed to me that the law wasn't grandfathering in previous units, so I don't know.
Well, that's what this would do. The idea being was basically if you ban non-owner occupied housing units or basically the non-primary residence units, you'd run into a situation that would they or would they not be eligible to receive a permit. By basically saying that the existing ones are eligible and including it in the statute and giving them a chance to register. One is they're going to register, or they're going to end up like non-conforming uses. They'll end up not being allowed to continue as a non-owner occupied. And the second thing to do that is by setting a cap in terms of the number of additional non-owner occupied units related to the production of housing stock. Then what ends up happening is you're ensuring that the community is continuing to build and produce housing rather than simply taking existing units off the market. That's the gist of this recommendation.
This is Vivian. It sounds to me like you're making suggestions. I'm wondering why you put them in as required modifications.
Because that's what they are. They would be required modifications. We're not suggesting the number. The numbers here are suggestions, but the fact that they should cap and register non-owner occupied units is a required modification.
If they did not see the need at the time they were making these resolutions, wouldn't they just be considering then your suggestions rather than be required to modify them?
They can overrule us by a majority plus one.
Dennis, Dennis, I think Vivian's getting a little mixed up. You're suggesting to the board, but the board's the one to make the motion. That's how we are going to do it.
Yeah, if that's what you meant, then my apologies.
Maybe I don't really understand what a required modification is and why it isn't a suggested modification.
Well, we issue, well, I don't want to get into all of this, but required modifications are literally require a majority plus one at the local level to overrule. Advisory comments, and you'll see that we've made advisory comments, are literally, there's no supermajority required to take them into account or to ignore them. They're just advisory.
Mm-hmm. So you felt strongly enough about those two issues to make them required?
Well, the board has felt strongly enough, not only here, but we're following past practice of the board in terms of comments on short-term rentals.
I noticed that a lot of the short-term rental regulations are already including a multifamily prohibition.
That's correct.
So I'm wondering why Rochester didn't see the need for that. I guess if Rochester doesn't see the need for it, they can overrule the application.
Okay.
And
Wanna pick it up, Rob?
Dennis, and this registration would go to the town of Rochester?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Motion to support staff, Watkins.
Conyer, second.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those opposed?
Vivian is opposed.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. Okay.
Rob,
Motion
can I just
carried.
make a request? We have our public hearing on this next Wednesday. If it's possible to get those comments before then, that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, you got it.
Thank you.
Okay, so This next one is actually going to be 131. There's one in between it too.
Town and village.
So you need recusals, right?
Right.
Slavity recused.
Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Harvardy. I think we may have lost,
Mike,
lost our chair again.
he's here.
Are you recused as well?
Who?
Still hanging in there, I
Oh,
think.
I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't know where you went.
It's getting kind of chopped. Go ahead.
All right. So, town authorities, village authorities are issuing, this is, I believe, their third combined comprehensive plan. They did one around 2000, somewhere in there. And then they did an update in 2013. And this is so they've been doing one about every 5 years or so. And they're going to do another one about 5 years as well. So, compliments them on looking back and updating the document essentially. And you had both documents in the Dropbox folder I shared, so you can really go side by side and easily see what changes and additions, subtractions were made to it. So that was very helpful. That it's consistent format. So first of all, they noticed that population decline, not within grand changes to Saugerty's history, just minus 1.7% for the town, 3.3% for the village. And there were population projections by NIMTech, which didn't really materialize anywhere. Let's see, there's a slight shift to renter occupied over time, but a lot of that was due to senior developments. And that goes back to like the 90s, actually, that number. So amended goal sections, and this is what you're gonna see here is everything they added in. And I'll start by saying that the 2013 plan already focused a great deal on building around existing centers, focusing on their gateways, looking at design guidelines. They started with climate change and protection, and they had a decent housing section. A lot of these aspects have been improved. So let's see. We have, so 1.4 is enforce the gateway overlay district regulations. That comes from the original was them creating those gateway districts and the designs for it. So now they're enforcing what they've created or that year. That change over time. That changes time. So they're focusing more on historic character and design guidelines that they want to do now. They also have seeking to bring internet more to everybody, more equitable, and they want to use more virtual meeting technology. As part one, no changes to the goals in education, some minor changes to town and village government changes. And again, they work jointly to adapt and mitigate issues related to climate change. A big thrust of this new plan is bringing in a lot of the factors directly from, I mean, they're copied from the town open space plan. There's a great focus on protection and climate change, responsiveness. The things that we want to focus on mostly here was the housing goal. So there already was a call to implement a call for an area housing needs study. And they wanted to maintain a ratio of rental versus ownership and a proportion of subsidized housing the last time. But there was no, you see here, 715 is the new one. They're actually putting it right there. They're encouraging the integration of workforce housing into design of new housing development, which they consider 90% and 120% of AMI. So we have more recent data based on the studies that we have ongoing in conjunction with Patterns for Progress. So we'll be offering some of that data to the community.
So I think the key here is the word encourage versus the word require.
Exactly.
Because encourage hasn't worked.
Right. Well, they didn't even have that language last time.
Yeah.
And again, so it's a lot more. Their natural resources protection, focus on tree removal, they have to get approvals for that. They want to focus on that. They also want to update the town open space plan, create more pedestrian networks. And then they added a lot with respect to we'll be making an advisory. They mentioned LEED certification standard. We highly recommend they go to LEED standard rather than go for certification. This way, if they're meeting LEED standards, they're not actually paying for that certification, but they can still meet those same goals and standards. Let's see. And the resiliency and sustainability, this is brought right in from the open space plan. So they're really acknowledging climate change, building in floodplains, having action plans to greenhouse gas emissions, and focusing on solar development. You saw earlier there was charging stations at gas stations, something they wanted to do. So there's a big focus on this, and we want to compliment the town on acknowledging.
Rob?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know whether you're cutting out on me or not here.
Is my internet not that good?
No, you just, it may be mine.
Oh,
Rob,
Mine too.
Rob echoed a little bit.
What's that?
You echoed a little bit, like it got tinny with an echo in the background,
Yeah.
as it does when it kind of like
Okay.
Mike's did.
Okay. Yeah, I had to move my internet around this week, so it may not be as good as it has been in the past. We'll get back to normal for next meeting. So advisory comments here. And actually, Dennis, I think we actually would want to make the housing comments to require modification, correct?
I think so. The advisory comments are certainly, this is what the community does, is the fact that they've done this every 5 years and updated it, and they've really taken a hard look at it. We really want to compliment it on that. I think the reason for the required modification on the housing is it's just such a critical component of where we are now in terms of needs in every community. And we want to make sure that when they start, that they're really talking about a housing action plan, and we're actually really going to do something. 5 years ago, they were talking about a housing study, and they've never done it. Now the thought being is a required modification to include that in the document and to actually do it. And then to talk about the inclusionary zoning that Rob had mentioned before, and then to talk about density bonuses and incentives. And then finally, to focus on rental and home ownership at different AMIs. We're rapidly falling behind with respect to affordability for anybody that's making less than 80% of the median income in this county. And that's both on the rental side as well as on the ownership side.
And that's pretty much our comment.
I got one question, Rob. On that one part, it said something about a permit to remove trees. If you're back.
Let me go back to, I know what you're talking about. Hang on.
Is that for the whole town wide? Because if you got a farm and all, that's kind of, I mean, I can see it in a village where, yeah, getting a permit to remove a tree might do to everything, the density of everything. But to get a permit to remove a tree, if you're out in the rural areas, it just didn't make sense to me.
Mm.
I had this similar thought, but then I realized this is a comprehensive plan, not a code.
That's what I was
It's
going
a
to say.
recommendation, although, maybe we might want to recommend that they do have a waiver of this for agricultural use or safety situations. I mean, if somebody has a tree that, say gets hit by lightning or something and is partially there and partially not there, they aren't going to want to have to wait to get a permit to take it down.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we, as an advisory comment, point out 817 and say that should be that goal should be clarified within the comprehensive plan.
All right.
Yes.
I noted
In
it.
regards to the village, there is a village tree commission, and any request to take down or permits to take down trees presently goes to the village tree commission.
Yeah, it's different in the village versus, in the town.
No, I understand now. I'm just speaking on the village.
Thanks, Vince.
part of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
don't
okay?
think,
Is that okay if we add that to that advisory recommendation?
I don't think this is relevant or appropriate for a town-wide policy. I can see in the village that it would be by special consideration if the lots are very small and close together. But I don't see in a town-wide setting how one tree could be that significant to require some bureaucratic policy.
Well, there are some really, out in the town, there are some really, really large trees. I mean, pretty significant. So I
Yeah,
can,
typically these are applied, Vivian, typically when you see these, they're applied to what they call heritage trees and of a certain size. And that's what they usually do. But
If
my
that's
sense, I agree with you. My sense is that we should ask for clarification on this. I agree.
I think a heritage tree could go into the comprehensive plan as specified as a heritage tree. That would be very good
Yeah.
to be in a comprehensive plan.
But sometimes these requirements do go, they sometimes require down to trees like 12 inches or more or something like that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, 12 inches at breast height.
Yeah, I think the clarification advisory comment on that issue would cover pretty much everything. It would ask them to review what they're talking about with the trees and mention some examples maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
My guess is it was a well-intentioned thought that just wasn't thought out the possibilities. And if we recommend to them that they think it through a little bit further, that they'll probably come to some conclusions how to resolve it.
Yeah, exactly. They're just trying to save the trees.
In fact,
They
there's
just went a
no
little too far.
provision for removal of dead trees, and that should be encouraged, I would think.
Yeah, we get it, Vivian. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I will make a motion of this advisory comments.
I'll second it, Conyer.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the advisory comments for both town and village Saugerties.
Actually, there's a required
comprehensive-
modification in there, guys, on the housing.
Oh, on the housing.
So it is a required
Yeah,
modification.
that was my question, because Dennis mentioned it was required, but I don't see required anywhere. I just assumed
Yeah,
that
Go back.
we understood that.
Yes, it would be, Vince. I mean, Gio, are you okay with that on your motion?
Yes, I am. Like I said, I just assumed that meant to be under required.
Okay. So we have the required modification, and then we have the advisory comments. We have the motion, and we have the second. Is there any further discussion? All those opposed? Motion carried. On to the next one, Rob.
All right.
Town of Saugerties, any recusals?
Yes, Lavity.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, Shirley LLC, we saw this last month. It was for the 12,000 square foot pole barn, 4,800 square foot annex building for a dog training facility and also office space, and they'll have events there. If you recall, we didn't get that much information. Now we have pretty much all the information. So again, there's lessons and events. There's no overnight boarding. Most events will probably be over by 8, but could be cleanup afterwards. Not an agricultural district. We now have a SWIP, now have a landscaping plan, have some lighting details, but not all lighting details. And we have a better sense of how events will be handled and what the size of the events will be, and that the parking is indeed adequate for those events. So that's the landscaping plan. So our sole comment really is lighting in the parking area, and also just the cut sheets for all the different lighting fixtures they're proposing that should be provided. They should be LED, full cut off, dark sky compliant, and suitable site for a suitable size poles for the.
They are all LED, but we just don't know what the fixtures are using. It just says to be determined, so that's okay. But
right.
We just want to set the goal for what those fixtures should be.
And should we also ask for photometric lighting levels or no?
No, that's good, Rob. That's
Okay.
fine. Just lighting details.
Rob, I remember Lisa can probably chime in better than I can. I remember she had a lot of experience with this type of facility, and was something about parking other than cars was
Yes,
talked
there-
about last month?
Yeah, and there is a designated, here, let me show it to you. There's a designated trailer area.
Okay,
It
that was my
reinforced,
concern. Perfect.
reinforced grass parking area.
Got it. Thank you.
Just
Rob,
don't know what
another comment.
reinforced grass means.
Holds up a trailer. Can we get them to do a little landscaping at a parking lot? I mean, we talked about row upon row of parking without a break.
Right. I mean, we have landscaping around the perimeter, and north and south perimeters, and we do have this wraparound part landscaping here and landscaping around along the building as well. So
It's
we
quite.
could, I mean, we could break
not
up
a
the
bad
number of
landscaping
spaces
plan
with
except for
some
the parking lot.
landscaping.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, usually we
No,
don't
I
like
was just breaking up the parking lot. That's all I was looking for. Break up the,
In the spaces you're talking about, Mike?
yeah, I mean, there's, we talked about how many parking spots you have in a row before you have a break in it.
Okay, I hear
yeah,
you.
we've made comments like that in the past.
Yeah, we have. That's why I was just getting that.
Is that what the board wants to do?
How many spaces is it in a row, Rob? Does it say?
I can't tell, but it's more than
Close to,
20.
gotta be close to 30, right?
It's a
Yeah.
considerable number.
I mean, the town of Ulster has, I believe, maximum of 12, for example.
Same thing at Kingston is 12.
So
We can put it as an advisory comment just to, take a look at it.
There, from what I saw, there's an awful lot of grass space there. From
Yeah.
the map that I looked
Yeah.
at.
There is.
Yeah, there's quite a
Don't
bit of
forget,
landscaping.
folks, it's a dog facility. There's a lot of grass there.
yes, there is.
What am I seeing at the bottom left with those stripes?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit and find out. Hard to read. Reinforced large vehicle parking area.
Okay.
That would probably be like motorhomes or something like that.
Yeah.
The trailers.
Yep.
So the comments were lighting for the parking area and advisory comment on breaking up the parking with some landscaping.
So moved, Mike Baden.
I'll second. Gio will second Mike's motion.
All right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on it? I mean, all those opposed? Okay, moving along. Village of Saugerties, any recusals?
All right.
Did we do this, Rob?
No.
No.
Okay, sorry.
You skip down to the one below the comprehensive plan, Dennis.
Okay.
I know what you're doing. Okay, so this is the one that we referred to about the public hearing that's going to go on for variances. So what they're doing here, it's existing structures. They want to get a use variance to convert one of the commercial uses. There are 3 different slots. Let me show it to you. I think I have it as a, there we go. So you got 3 different commercial locations that they can convert one. I'm not exactly sure which one they didn't specify, but one of them can be converted to a apartment. Which one?
The one where the computer is.
Computer Service Center?
The Computer Service Center.
Yeah, they're going to convert that to an apartment use. So they need a use variance on that, and I believe a front yard variance on that. And this is here. So this is here for the. This is here, or actually, this is here for a use variance on it. I was thinking about an Ulster referral. Excuse me. So this is just the use variance for that. You can see next door that they've done some conversions and have some housing above commercial here. So comment on this is very simple. Do they meet the use variance test? And
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
so they need to prove that. And also the village should be considering, we've seen this before from the village several different times, 2 or 3 times at least that I know of, where they've done these first floor apartments, and the village should be really considering whether they want this kind of use to go forward, and consider, since they keep getting this type of application, they should consider whether they want to allow it and by special permit and provide some sort of standard and see if they want to handle it that way. But I'd be hard pressed to see how the applicant meets the standards for use variance test in this case.
Rob, are you putting this as a required mod?
This would be an advisory comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rob, maybe recommend that they consider, instead of just say rezone, say consider to rezone to a mixed use type of development with residential and business in the same building.
Well, it is a mixed use zone. They just don't allow it on the first floor. That's
okay. So they don't allow residential upstairs, but not down. Okay.
correct.
You could
Understood.
basically think about a mixed use zone that would, when there's multiple first floor of buildings, that no more than 30% of the first floor could be residential. That's how you could do it, Mike. You're right. You could do it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I agree, Rob. They're the strict test of the use variance they are not going to meet, because you have to show that there's no other possible allowed use that you can do with that property, and it's just not possible to meet that.
Right.
That building where it looks like it's yellowish, that's a separate building. Just
Yeah, we know.
Yep.
So we've got a recommendation.
Yeah,
have
it's basically just an advisory comment.
I'll
Do we
I'll
have a
make the
Avenue-
motion, Baden.
second it,
Who seconded it?
McLaughlin.
So we have a motion and a second. Advisory comments. All those, any further discussion? All those opposed? Okay.
Hey, Rob, is there any way you could send a copy of that prior to the public hearing?
To what?
Is there any way you could send a copy of the comments prior to the 22nd?
I mean, we'll send it out. Well, we always CC you with our board members when we send it back.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Town of Shawangunk, any recusals?
None. This is just a lot width and lot area variance for a single family home on a Wasping Road in the RS2 zoning district. There is no county impact on that.
So moved.
Second, Conyer.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those opposed? Okay. Town of Ulster, any recusals?
Almquist here.
Thank you, Mr. Almquist.
All right. This is Joseph Emmanuel. We reviewed this site many times. I can't remember how many, so we'll just put it as many. We saw it most recently in 2017 for a 4,000 square foot storage building, and I'll bring up the aerial just to jog everybody's memory. Let's see if we can get to it. That's showing them. Here we go. This is on 9W north of Lake Katrine, headed toward Town of Sorties. I believe you still have the auto body shop over in the north portion of it. So they propose buildings behind it. So there's no issue with placing those buildings there. The comments we had last time was a lack of lighting for property and that the lighting should be upgraded to full cutoff. Now they're meeting that standard now. They're providing the lighting. They're also, by the way, they're fencing in this. I'm pointing my mouse around, not showing you what they're doing. So they're fencing that in, so that'll be less visual impact on the road. But the comment we had last time with it was they noted on site plan. I'll go back to it. Let's go back to that. Last time we said it says here, and you probably can't see it, but I'll zoom in a little bit. It says reputed septic and 100% reserve. We just want them to confirm that it is in fact there and that there's actually adequate room for that septic in the reserve area.
You don't want to put the building over the septic system.
No. I
That's
mean,
your
based on this,
recommendation, Rob?
yeah,
That's your
so it's just a require modification on to confirm the location of the septic and reserve area. That's the whole comment.
So moved, Mike Baden.
I will second that, Gio.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those opposed? Motion carried. Town of Ulster.
Almquist again.
Thank you, Frank.
All right. Now, this is a little backwards the way we're seeing it, but usually we'll see use variances and area variances first before the site plan, but we're getting the site plan first. So we'll see it again for use variance and area variance. And what we're proposing, and I'll go to the aerial again here. Might recognize it more from there. This is on Ulster Avenue. This is a site here. So you have social services. This is a site here, former massage parlor here, former Italian restaurant, I believe, over in this location here. What they're going to be doing is demolishing this building closest to the road and building a mixed-use structure and then reusing this for manufacturing use. They didn't say in materials I have what that manufacturing use is, but there's no changes proposed for the building towards the back. They're going to be combining the two lots as well. That's not referable since it's a two-lot. It's a lot line consolidation.
Was this mixed use, Robert, or the building they were going to build was just apartments?
The new building is mixed use.
Thank you.
So that's what it looks like right now. They're going to be demolishing this one that's closer to the road. They're not changing the access. They are going to be improving the landscaping along the frontage. There is existing sidewalk, and the new project will connect right into the existing sidewalk on Ulster Avenue, by the way. So you can see the footprint of the original building, and you can see the new footprint as well. So it's 9 apartments. 8 of them will be on the second floor. 1 that's in the back will be on the first floor, but then underneath it'll be a laundromat. So
where's that connection, Rob, to the sidewalk on 9W?
Let me show you. Sidewalk, and then we got to make sure that flows through. It looks like it does, but I can't confirm that it actually does.
So why don't we make sure
let's make sure that it does. I mean, we wanted to make some comments about what this looks like from the road anyway, and I'm going to show the board that in a second. That's what it's going to look like internal to the property, but that's what it's going to look like from the roadway. Doesn't really address the streetscape well. Maybe, I don't know if they want to move a main entrance to it, but something that links to the rest of the corridor a little bit better.
Rob, what about just some landscaping, some street trees that would break up the mass and scale of it?
Street trees. Yeah, I think they have some landscaping. I don't know how. I think they have. Yeah, it looks like they have about 3 or 4 trees in there, possibly. We'll just have to double check that landscaping plan there. But some street trees, as long as they don't block sight distances, would be welcome there. And making sure that sidewalk does in fact connect all the way to the existing sidewalk is something we want to see.
If anybody didn't think that we have a housing issue and a retail issue, the fact that they're tearing a building down to build these apartment units in this laundry, that'll give you a good indication about the value here.
Right. Now, it does.
Any tree in front of that building would be more than any other lot on that whole stretch of road.
That's
exactly. Let's start a trend, Gio.
You got to start something.
Yeah, there you go.
Uh-oh.
So multifamily isn't allowed in this particular zone, but this building, the building they're demolishing has, I think it's been vacant for a number of years now. So while they haven't shown it to us, the financial hardship, we haven't seen the use variance application anyway yet. So they'll need to provide that, and there's
What's your recommendations,
there's
Rob?
definitely a demand for housing. So when they go to use variance, the use variance and the area variance will need to be referred to us, obviously. So that's going to be one of the comments that we made authorities and say, maybe you should be allowing multifamily housing in the
corridor. Yeah.
In the corridor. It makes sense, especially with, there's a lot of, while this is a tear down and a replacement, there's a lot of buildings within it that are existing structures that are prime for adaptive reuse.
Yeah, and this is a great example of what they did in the village of New Paltz on the Route 32 corridor. You know, taking a good look at this corridor and rezoning it and thinking about it in a little different way may yield large results.
Right. Other comments need some lane details, need some signage details. Those, they knew about them, they were pending, but we just don't have them yet. And like we said before, advisory comments were look at the street design, but I think it can be addressed with street trees. And also, we just want to suggest that they, given that it is 9 units, there's an opportunity here to provide for an affordable unit or two.
Yeah. And the fact that it's a use variance is.
Sorry, go ahead.
And the fact that it's a use variance as well.
What is the existing building going to remain with? Is that commercial?
It's a manufacturing building. It's been many things over the years, but I think it's most recently a massage parlor.
So it'll be some type of retail?
It says proposed manufacturing in the 3600.
Okay.
I don't know
what. My concern about manufacturing is you may end up with some larger trucks. Are they going to be able to get in and maneuver? I'm just asking.
There is a turning radius on it, and they
Even
have.
if it's a box truck, it looks to me pretty tight between where the accessible parking is, and I mean it's 24 feet. It's probably not as bad as it looks.
And 27 and a half.
Yeah.
It's a little awkward.
It's a fairly sizable site to wander around in with a truck.
Yeah.
Does this have to go to NICE-DOT?
Yeah.
Say that again?
Does this have to go to NICE-DOT for sign off?
It's got an existing curb cuts.
No, I'm talking about because of the sidewalks.
No.
Is that dumpster going to be big enough for apartments plus the manufacturing? Because you only have the one dumpster there. But the other thing is, shouldn't it be the use variance be done before we really do this? Because if they approve the site plan, that's pretty much saying give them the use variance.
Well, they can submit it to us.
No, the site plan can be approved, Tom, and it still has to be pending approval of the use variance.
All right. And
They
is
can't
that
start construction until they get the use variance?
laundromat going to be open to the public or just for the apartments?
No, it's for the public. It's a commercial use.
All right. So that's the reason for all the parking and.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I asked that. They got a lot of parking for this. 9 apartments and a laundromat.
Yeah.
They're going to need it for the laundromat.
So I have a question. Since they don't specify what manufacturing they will do in that building, is there a potential issue with noise and emissions and anything that would impact the residential building?
It's a permitted use in the zone. It's a good question, Vivian. Manufacturing is a permitted use in the zone. They could take it up as part of the use variance, and we could take it up when the use variance comes to us to make sure that whatever manufacturing or use variance is granted, that the manufacturing is not in conflict with the residential use. But I mean, the laundry right below is not necessarily the best. You know what I'm saying?
That's pretty noisy sometimes. Yeah.
Well, you can make an advisory comment to that effect.
Yeah, we could do it when the use variance comes in, Rob. We could do it as part of the use variance.
Okay, character, neighborhood, things like that.
Yeah.
You know, I would like to echo Tom's concern about that dumpster. being sufficient for the house, the apartments, and if there's manufacturing material that has to go in it, is that going to be sufficient?
So we can make an advisory comment that they should consider a second dumpster for the manufacturing operation.
Almquist here. Can I break in just a moment? The
Are you recused?
manufacturing will be Jane's Ice Cream.
Oh, okay. That works.
Okay.
Sounds good.
It
And
is
they're going
good.
to sell
It
ice cream
does.
from the site too?
There will be no retail.
Too bad.
But there will be trucks. But there definitely will be that confirms there will be trucks though.
Yeah,
for sure.
but probably not track. My concern, Rob, was if it was the type of manufacturing that was going to bring in a tractor trailer, now you have an issue.
Yeah, these are more like the box trucks that
Yeah.
I've seen them
Did
around
we
town.
make that advisory comment though about that?
Yeah.
They should consider the manufacturing transportation as far as if it will or won't be a tractor trailer. I mean, I don't know if they can limit that as a condition of approval that they can't bring in a tractor trailer, because I could see a tractor trailer coming in and just blocking up everything.
I mean, Mike, you could ask him for the turning movements for a tractor trailer, but I think that they can get around that building.
Okay, but there's no loading zone or unloading zone.
There's an asphalt thing in the back that looks like they could unload in the back if you look at the back of the
Yeah.
manufacturing
There's an
building.
apron back there.
I
But
really
isn't
don't
that-
want to.
Aren't they showing that as parking as well, though?
Yeah, but I mean, you think about moving of trucks and stuff like that through there. I mean, these are staff parking spots. I mean, I'm
Okay.
not seeing this as an issue. I'm just not. I think that there's a lot of space in there to move things around.
No, I agree. And maybe the suggestion might be then, if they don't need the parking behind the manufacturing, to remove that, because it seems like there's already plenty of parking. But
Yeah.
I hear your comments, and I don't disagree with your thoughts, but
So where are we at, Rob, in terms of recommendations? The recommendations are required modifications on the use variance coming into us. That's a referral, right? Lighting comments, the signage comments. We're going to make an advisory comment with respect to the design at the street level, the affordability, and we're going to make an advisory comment with respect to make sure that the sidewalk connects to the street in front of the building. And then the design at the street level could be either the building design and or additional landscaping, right?
What about putting a comment in there, something to the effect that possibly removing the parking in the back?
For me, I mean, why? So it's already paved, it's already back there. My sense would be is if it gets used, it gets used. You know, they're not going to. If you're asking me to tear it up, then that's a different thing.
did you also had the advisory comment about the dumpster, right, Dennis?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm sorry I missed that.
The only thing why I mentioned it is that so you can get a commercial vehicle back there, like Mike said.
I think they can. I mean, we could ask them to do a turning movement on that, but I think that they can.
With the parking there?
Yep, I think they can.
It's tight as it is there right now, Dennis. I'm telling you.
Well,
You
I
got,
think we've had enough discussion on it that the planning board will take a look at it.
I mean, can we put in there as an advisory comment that they take a look at that turning, like you said, or something? I mean, it's tight right now back there as it is.
If you look at the site map, they've got the turning area overlapping the parking area. The
Wow.
lines actually cross.
That's a road. That's a former road. That's not a turning template. That's a road. It's an old
But then
road.
it looks to me like they've made the road according to what would be comfortable for turning.
So,
I think we're just asking if that road.
so let's Mike, if I can, let me put this to rest, because I mean, my sense would be is that let's just say in an advisory comment that they should make sure that the trucks can get in and out of the manufacturing building. That's it.
That works.
Yeah.
That works.
Okay.
Brooks.
Yeah, Dennis, that dimension is 40 feet 6 inches. You're behind the building. I agree with you once I look at that closer.
Yeah,
But if we do that advisory comment, we at least have asked them to take a look at it.
Motion to support staff.
Second, Conyer.
Okay, I have a motion.
And
Have
a
a second. Who has a second?
Conyer.
Conyer.
Tanya, John. Okay, thank you.
How could you forget me?
I thought you were being quiet. And I'm not on you hearing you being quiet. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those opposed?
I am opposed. Geo, opposed.
Okay. Okay. Next one up, Rob.
Okay, urban precast. I'm sure Frank's recused again.
Compost again.
Yes.
All right. So we reviewed this recently as well. It's a just under 4,000 square foot addition to the existing operation here. And they're going to put it on the end of this building, a small addition here to an existing manufacturing operation. There's no county impact on that.
Motion to support staff.
Second, Conyer.
Okay. Hawk might, okay. Any further discussion? All those opposed? Motion carried. For Washing, any recusals? Okay, Rob.
All right. Okay, so last referral of the night. So Town of Warsing is proposing a event venues law similar to the Town of Rochester's commercial event venues law. So they defined.
Rob, you want to put your PowerPoint up?
It is up.
On my screen.
Okay, sorry. Hang on. Hang on. How's that?
That's better.
All right.
Sorry,
All right.
Rob.
Was it not on last time for the last referral at all?
No, we got it.
There we go.
Oh, okay, good.
Got it now.
All right. Now, so to define them as accessories uses for gatherings and events for when compensation is paid to the property, allowed in the RU, VH, PCIM, MU, AD, VP zones. Similar to the Town of Rochester, certain uses are exempt from this. For example, places of worship, hotels, agritourism, public social halls, things of that nature. Buildings essentially that already do events. Max attendance is 250 people. Number of events, 12 max per year, unless otherwise approved by the planning board. Parking requirement is 1 space for every 2 attendees. So water and sewer has to be verified that it's adequate. Hours of operation are 10 a.m. and 11 p.m. with setup and dismantling time allowed in the morning. Food service, catering, food trucks, all allowed as part of it. The planning board has the ability to grant or require appropriate buffers. They don't define what appropriate is. I guess it's case by case basis. They are requiring an event management plan, which includes traffic parking management plan, security plans, refuse and storage management plans, and detailed noise analysis plans as well. And let me just move something. And they set some criteria for the approval, including the ability to actually handle the events on site, access, and the access refers to major corridors, how accessible by major roads is it? Security, ability for fire and safety, police to access the site, and also whether or not they have any previous violations the previous year.
Rob, Mr. Murray just commented by chat, said insurance requirements with a question mark, but I can tell you our attorney advised us that you can't for a use, you can't require that somebody has insurance. The town doesn't have any. It's not a land use issue. That's the owner of the property's choice whether they operate with or without insurance. So at least
Thank
that's
you.
my attorney's opinion.
Wow.
Thanks, Mike.
That was helpful. All right. So one required modification, there's no threshold for minimum lot size for this. So given the number of zones that occur in, the number of possible parcel sizes, we highly recommend that there establish a minimum lot size for these kind of events. And we suggest at least 1 acre per every 50 guests. Figuring that that's at least a good starting point there. Also, some advisory comments. They should have a removal time frame. Town of Rochester, for example, requires site to be cleaned up within 4 days. There's also, while it's required by special permit, there wasn't anything specific in the standards to define the actual site, where the event is going to be held on the site, what the layout is, what the parking locations are, where the sanitary facilities are going to be located, essentially a site plan. Now, it might be elsewhere in the special permit standards of the law, but they should require that as part of the application process for these venues.
So basically the site plan is a better venue. Do you want a special permit and a site plan review, Rob?
Well,
Or you just want a site plan as part of the special permit? I'm just curious.
Site plan. Well, the site plan is part of the special permit. I mean, if they're going to grant, they should know what the location of everything is if they're giving them a special permit.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I think that as he's saying, they should, as part of the special permit, there should be a requirement that a layout of the property be shown of what's going to happen where. Rochester has that. It's just inherent to the use of the business to show where your sanitary facilities are going to be, where your parking is going to be, where.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know that
Some of
it needs
these are in
to.
open fields and others
Right.
in a tent, and others are in an actual building. At least that's been our experience in Rochester.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to hit the threshold for a full, really detailed site plan, but at least give them a pretty general sense of where everything's going to be and whether the site can handle that event.
Well, if they're doing 12 events a year, why wouldn't it be? I mean, again, if it's a one-off kind of thing, if they want to hold, I get it. But if you're setting up an event space and they're going to do 12 events a year, I don't know why you wouldn't require them to have a full detailed site plan.
Okay, then require a full detailed site plan. That's fine by me.
Also, that 1 acre for 50 guests, that's like 25, well, he's figured 20 to 25 cars. Isn't that, you do need to know where the parking is going to be, because if it's town-wide, a lot of this is going to be out in rural areas, so you don't want them really parking on the roads.
Right.
No, they'd have to show off-street parking, and that's
So that 1 acre seems a little bit tight if you got 20 cars.
You can get 100 cars per acre is a general rule of thumb, Tom.
Okay, all right.
That's a general rule of thumb for parking. It's about 100. You get about 100 cars per acre.
Okay.
And
Did
this
they
would
mention
be
parking in the code, Rob? Did they mention that it must be off street, or are they allowing it on street?
I believe they actually mentioned that it has to be off street.
Off street.
I can
yeah.
double.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought they had. at
Yeah,
least a
most of it I can tell you is direct language from our code.
That works out swimmingly, didn't it?
I'll send Terry Houck my bill.
That's just
All right. Any other
anything
comments?
else?
This is Drew. I got one question on the minimum lot size 1 acre. I don't know that much about Worthing, but if you did that in Olive, you could have somebody with 20 acres, but only 1 or 2 is usable. Does that need to be clarified a little bit, or do you think that that's adequate?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Drew. What we were trying to do is stop somebody in these urbanized areas of basically holding an event, which could be a yard sale 12 times a year, a mega yard sale.
Rob, can you go back to the zoning districts they allowed it in? They might not be allowing it in the smaller zoning districts.
They do. It's allowed in the R1 district.
Oh,
No, it doesn't. But it is the, not the R1, it's the RU.
The RU district, I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm not familiar enough with their zoning names, so.
Mixed use district,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll check that to make sure, but the thought we were trying to do is to give them a minimum lot size to start with.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just
Yeah.
wasn't sure if we needed to, if they need to think about making sure there's space.
Yeah, I thought,
That's good.
I thought I read that 3 acres was a minimum size. I might have gotten confused with another
So if you're,
application this week.
if you're gonna require a site plan, have that as a requirement, does that mean that they can be denied at some point if they have 1 or 2 that get out of hand, and it's too, and they don't conform to the rules they're supposed to?
Yeah,
I'm just wondering about enforcement in the long run.
Yeah, there is enforcement.
Well, I mean, under the special permit process, they could, trying to think, they could make it renewable.
That's where I was getting at.
I hate to say that, but they could make it renewable. I don't like that. I mean, my sense is that you get it right and you let them go ahead or you go through a licensing process.
Bear in mind, Dennis,
we do that with bed and breakfast. We just looked at a law earlier that has to be reviewed. They get reviewed every year and have
That's
to
a
be
licensing though. That's not a site
right.
plan.
Well, I mean, I
That's
think
a
all of these events statutes should have licensing, because like who says that if they don't restrict their noise and don't restrict their traffic, they can just keep going? I mean, when are they going to be stopped then?
they can,
I always felt that way.
if they're not following the approved conditions of their site plan, the code enforcement officer can serve them with a violation notice. With only 12 events a year, people are doing this as a secondary income. And the reason we pick 12 is it's an average of 1 a month, but reality, we know it's not going to operate in
during the summer
November till April. So, but really you're looking at 2 a month through the summer months, spring and summer, and into the fall months. So to have somebody have to invest the money to create the infrastructure for this and then have to come for an annual permit, I think it's going to get a little cost prohibitive.
And I agree with you, Mike, but we all know, that there are people who take advantage, and
I know.
I'm just worried about the enforcement of it.
Yeah.
Because we also don't know the location. This is town-wide, so it could be in the worst location possible because the guy wants to make a few extra bucks.
No, I don't
and
think
now,
that's town-wide.
I think
now the neighbors are
there's a lot
complaining and no one's doing anything about it.
But I think, Gio, I think the enforcement here is notices of violation. Right?
Okay.
That's what ends up happening under any zoning statutes, a
Yeah.
notice of violation.
And I just want to point, they do have set criteria for approval, and they will be, even if they don't set a minimum lot size, they'll be looking at how each site functions. And if they think it's too small a site and doesn't think it's an adequate location, then they might not approve it.
Rob, one thing we have in our code, and I can't tell from looking at your notes if they included this or not, is because these happen so sporadically, we require notice to the code enforcement office when the events are happening.
Yes, they have it.
Prior.
Yes,
They
they have
copy
them.
that portion of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's go back to the recommendations, guys. So I guess my question is it seems to me that the most conversation we had was about the minimum lot size. So why don't we just basically indicate that they should establish a minimum lot size, and we won't give them any indication about what that is.
I'm good with that.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, that's what we'll
Okay.
do.
I'll make a motion, Conyer.
Second,
Second, Vivian.
Watkins.
Vivian. All right. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, before we adjourn, I have a quick statement I want to read to the board that was forwarded to me. I want to share it with my board or colleagues here. It's from the Village Authorities. After this, and this has been going on for the last 100 years, we've been doing this up here. And we just handed out this decision tonight. After discussion between company members and officials from the Village Authorities Fire Department, the CA Lynch Hose Company number 2 has made the difficult decision to cancel the Christmas candy run this year due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. While we understand this is a disappointment to many, ourselves included, the logistics required to produce a successful and safe candy run do not allow us to be distanced from both the public and each other. However, Santa has not requested or has requested we escort him through the village on December 19th, starting at 10 o'clock, so he may wish everyone a Merry Christmas before heading back to the North Pole for final preparations.
Thanks, Vince.
Cool.
And
Okay.
that's a great way to end, I think, is wishing Santa, like, help him back to the North Pole.
But mind you, we've been doing the candy run for 100 years up here in the village, and this is the first time in that period of time we've had to cancel it.
Save a
Okay.
vaccination for Santa.
So we have
You know
an
what?
adjournment?
Everybody.
I just want to thank you all for putting up with me for the last 2 years as chairman. I
All right,
appreciate it.
Mike.
Good
It
job,
was
Mike.
hard.
Thank
It
you,
was
Mike.
really hard.
Thank you, Mike.
To all of you,
Thank you, Mike.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all.
Happy New
And
Year.
all have a very happy and holiday season, and stay safe and stay healthy.
Same to you,
Stay
Mark.
safe.
You too,
Same
Mike.
to all of you.
Motion to
Merry Christmas,
adjourn.
everyone.
Move it.
Merry
See
Christmas.
you next
Thank you,
year.
Michael.
We
Okay,
get a motion to adjourn, actually?
I'll make the
Motion
motion
to
to adjourn.
adjourn.
Drew.
so
So
moved.
Thank you all. Have a
Okay,
safe,
thank you.
have a
Bye-bye.
safe one, guys.
Take
All
care.
right. Have a good night. Happy
Have
holidays.
the rest of this
See
candy
you
now,
next
Dennis.
year.